committee meeting is first tonight. As Councillor Shukin mentioned, this is the first time in my history, even 4.5 years almost, that we got to go first. So we do have a paint to add to the agenda, which we are going to put under other business. So that will go under 10A, the paint that has come in from the fire chief. So with the addition of that, could I have approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Mayor Little, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. All in favor? All right, public participation, anyone wishing to speak. And I do also want to acknowledge that we're sharing the land with our neighbors and friends of the First Nations. Thank you.
Good evening, Brent Donaldson, Chelster Court. I'm speaking to the training tower tonight. One of my jobs before I retired at Sanders Fire Department, I was the training and staff development officer and worked on a training center at number 2 Hall, which this is where the tower is coming from. In that process, we went through a public hearing, and some of the height issues were dealt with by painting the tower actually green. The construction of the tower itself complies with structural engineering as well as WorkSafe BC. It was built about 15 years ago, and certainly to replace that, I would think it would be several $100,000. I think it's a great asset. Certainly, I think it is a gift, so I strongly urge you to consider it. And if you don't use it as a training tower, maybe you can put it on your side and we can have it as a bridge on Flesh Road.
Thank you.
Good Metchosin resident. I just want to say I think the pedestrian activated light for we're at near Kangaroo and Rocky Point where the Galloping Goose crosses is brilliant, and I want to thank Councillor for her efforts on that.
Thank you. It is going to be brilliant. It's very exciting to finally get it going. Would anybody else wish to speak?
Is it just Public Works, or can you speak out on anything?
It's just Public Works tonight, and then we're going to be followed by the Planning Committee, and maybe I'm not sure which one is next, and the Environmental Committee. So. And you have another. Each one of them will have an opportunity to speak. So whatever you want to speak about, wherever it kind of fits in a slot, would be the best spot.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Moving on then, we have adoption of the minutes of the meeting from May 8th.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Gray, seconded by Councillor Shukin. All in favor? Thanks. And then we need a motion for receipt of the minutes of the Healthy Community Advisory Select Committee of May 24th.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Shukin, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. All in favor? Okay. It was great after a very, very long break to actually have the Healthy Communities Committee back on track again. There's some new faces on the committee and lots and lots of ideas. If anybody happened to read the minutes, it was great, very exciting. So I'm sure there'll be some really interesting things coming forward in the next while. All right, on reports, we have a report from the Metchosin Fire Department, and could ask the Fire Chief Dunlop to please come up and talk a bit about her very well written report.
Okay. Chief Dunlop, 4440 Happy Valley Road. Yeah, I'm just here to answer any questions you might have, and I wanted to point out a couple of things on our report. We ran 65 calls in the month of May, which is significantly increased from what it used to be around 30 to 32 was our average. Very limited open burn complaints. So definitely more medicals for sure, but we're getting more and more of just miscellaneous assistance and fires and alarm bell calls, that sort of thing as well. So one of the issues that we are running into, we may think that drug overdose is a big city problem. but it's not. It's a Metchosin problem. In the month of May, crossing into April, May kind of time frame, in our own municipality, we've had 8 overdoses. So that's a pretty high number for the amount of, for our population here. So if we think that it's not happening here, it is happening here, and we never know. Any medical call we go to for a sick person could easily be an overdose. So it is a very real local problem. I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
Do you have any, what as a community, do you have any ideas about what we can do to help out with the overdose problem? I mean, I know it is from the workshop that we went to, a couple of us went to a while back. It's such a hidden issue.
Unfortunately, I really don't. Just if we know if there's somebody that does have a concern or a problem, is to seek assistance. Especially, to be clear, it's not all just drugs, illicit use of, what we think of drugs. Sometimes it's just overdose of people who are just depressed or with mental health issues too. So that's, that combination of those 2 items together are what are really causing our concerns here. So I don't have a direct answer. It's not something we actually are able to get and deal with people who might have addiction issues. But certainly if you know of somebody, to reach out for help. There's all kinds of resources available. There's some RCMP dropped off some really great brochures up at the front desk here. And also we have some at the fire hall as well.
Council, any questions? Councillor.
Thanks, Councillor, through you. So Chief, there was a lot of work done on addressing the province and I think it's called the CRM, the Call Response Management, is that correct? Bring back our calls, sort of. Has that had an impact on your world and the increase in calls?
Yes. What we were aiming for was to bring back all of our calls from the very minor, not transport only calls, but very minor calls to very severe calls, which we have group managed to get that back. So that's what we're doing now. So yes, there's definitely that reflection there. As far as the volunteers go, it's great because they love getting to know the community. We spend an average of 34 minutes on scene with every patient prior to ambulance getting there. And that's an average. So there are some where we're there 2 hours, some where we're 10 minutes, right? So that's a lot of time to build a rapport and a relationship, and also be there to comfort and care. Imagine having something very scary happening and just waiting for ambulance to get there. So it's been a great program for us.
All right. Marianne?
I was interested, thank you through the chair, I was interested in the hazmat training that you did with Central Saanich. Can you explain that in a little?
Sure. So I'm not sure if you're aware that part of the greater CRD is the CRD Regional Hazmat Team. It's a very unique team because it's made up of all the South Island, if you will, fire departments that have a technician, a hazmat technician. So that's a certain level of training that you get. I've been on the team since its inception, which is, I'm going to say 14 years ago now, something like that. So I'm a team lead with that. And it's sort of like when there's a hazmat call where a local department needs additional resources, so it's a severe incident, hazmat incident, they do the pagers and all of us respond from wherever we happen to be to that location. And then we do our hazmat tech stuff and we wear the suits and go in and do whatever we need to do to make sure the situation is safe. So it's very cool. I'm actually the only female on the team, so and I'm also the only fire chief on the team, so that kind of puts me in a really awkward position sometimes, but it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Well done.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Yeah, I just going back to the overdoses and sometimes it is mixing medication and alcohol and stuff like that. I'm just wondering, because we did go to that really informative workshop and we brought back some literature, that we maybe do a bit of a campaign to say that there is some information, or at least some resources, and one of the places maybe is on the marquee as an awareness that, here's a phone number, here's places to help or to reach out to. There's a lot of stigmatism to go with it, unfortunately, but the more we start seeing this, it starts to open up those doors a little bit.
Yeah, we were thinking about doing kind of a I won't say marketing campaign, but information campaign, if you will,
PR.
and doing a naloxone training session and getting the websites together so there's some links there for people, anonymous, helplines, that sort of thing. So that's kind of where we're going. It's just a matter of time to get that coordinated.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yes, really.
I'm also attending that conference that they advertised on the overdose crisis in Vancouver. I think it's June 23rd, 22nd as well, so I'll be able to bring some more information back regarding the Leadership United group who gave us this workshop that Councillor Dawn Sinep and I attended.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I would like to throw out there kudos to Chianu because they haven't had an overdose there in over a year now. So that's really well done on their behalf.
What did they do to help mitigate that?
They just were persistent. They started a security and they just let people who were bringing in drugs, let them know they weren't welcome there.
Wow.
That's really what it came down to.
That's excellent.
Yeah, very cool.
All right, see more questions, so thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to the councillor's update. Going to go through everything. Obviously, our public works crew is still hard at it, as usual. School working group, we've had, it says the most recent applications and proposals for the RFP to renovate the gym and build the washrooms are in, and the group and the CAO is going to bring our, the decision to the next council meeting on the 19th. And I did want to mention to the working group, because there's a bit of misconception about it, like the fire hall working group and the dogs and Metchosin working group are all quite large groups. This actually, working group is probably not a very good name for it, because it's more just an ad hoc group. There's only 4 people on the committee, and that is the fire chief, and Johnny Carline, Gary Smurfett, and myself. So, I have brought reports to the committee when we have had meetings, and they haven't been all that regular, since just when we sort of need to meet. So, at any rate, just wanted to explain that a bit. As far as MACA, the next big event will be July 1st from 3 to 9 p.m. outdoors. They're going to have some vendors and entertainment and food, and I think a Canada Day cake, as far as I know. The Seniors Association, a very successful Parisian cafe again this year, and the weather cooperated quite well. It's a bit windy with the tablecloths blowing off as usual, but at least it wasn't raining like it was last year. And the tour of the CREST sites was very informative, especially the e-com center, where the people are set at their tables taking the 911 calls and dispatching the police calls. It was really interesting. And the Arts Commission Summit as well. Another thing I did have is a kind of a booze and bouquets session, and the booze are for the people that are dumping things, not just around the neighborhood, but most recently the massive amount of building material that was left by the metal bin. I mean, as volunteers are handling all that stuff there, and it's just really, it's really awful that there's just that much kind of dumping going on. And another one is yesterday when I was driving down the road to see that our radar speed sign on Rocky Point Road had been KO'd again. And I don't know if it's been damaged or not. Last time it was quite expensive to get it fixed, and it's just really, we're trying to keep people in the community safe, and it's just very upsetting. So if people do see or hear of anyone who is doing those kind of things, if you could let the RCMP know or let staff here know, it would be really helpful to try to cut down on some of it. And my bouquet is to the amazing volunteers at the Metchosin Community Mighty Garage Sale, because honestly there's a core group that just slaves away from morning until night basically on that for more than a week, and then with the sale and then the cleanup again. So they just really brought in a ton of money and did a lot of work and spent a lot of hours to bring in the funds to support the community house for the future.
Do you know
So
how much money they made?
I don't know the exact amount. I know it was more than 40,000. So it was a really, really productive. There's a lot of stuff left, of course, as usual, to clean up, but But, it certainly is worth it in the long run. Right, so in correspondence, we have the CREST annual report, and if you have a chance to have a look at it, it's quite interesting. It's, they're a pretty amazing organization, really. I don't want to move on to other business. So what we have in other business is a paint on climbing tower that Mr. Donaldson was talking about earlier. I'm going to ask the fire chief to come up again and give us a little more information on this very exciting idea of a climbing tower.
Do you have to repeat my name again? Yeah, thanks to Brent Donaldson for giving you all the good details on it. He probably knows more about the tower than we do. Yeah, it's a great opportunity. Saanich has offered this to us free of charge, and it's probably well worth $150,000 to $200,000 if we were to build it now. Like if we were to wait until we got the new fire hall in, that's what it would cost on top. We have all the drawings and everything that were given to us to make sure that it's all structurally sound. When we move it, the people who actually built the tower are the ones who are giving us a price to remove it, transport it over here, and put it back up. It fits quite nicely over there, tucks behind the school there. It goes with kind of what it's been started over there is all the, the agency and the responder training. There's a lot that we can do with it and continue to support our neighbors as well. One thing that we're missing here for a fire department is we don't have any kind of a host tower for training or a climbing tower for training. That means that we can't train how to go up a series of stairs and enter into buildings and do that sort of thing, which is what Soup needs and Colwood needs and Langford needs. We don't need that specifically here right now, hopefully never, but we do go for mutual aid calls. And by having that training, it makes us better trained to be able to go and help our neighbors. We've been looking into insurance and making sure that we cover all risks as far as it being open to public or other people getting onto it and getting hurt. So those things we're investigating. What the cost is for the pad, because we will have to put a new pad in the back there. It is painted green, so it's not terribly ugly from you can't see it. There's lots of trees in the background, so doesn't stick out too bad. Yeah. So.
Any questions?
Yes, I do. So, through you,
Yeah.
Councillor, Chief, so you expect that a lot of the training with the tower will be with other departments. Is that fair to say? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah.
Councillor Donaldson?
So on following up with that, because and you have explained to me recently that we do share with training, like the extrication where we bring the recruits of other departments and they seem to go through a training regime together. So with this tower, I suspect it'll be integrated in that regard as well. So is it something that we will be able to benefit financially from?
No. It's one more asset that we have here to do different kinds of training. Mm-hmm. We can now bring rope rescue training here. We can now do Aaron Fields. We want to bring him in from Seattle. He's a great instructor on a specific course that he has. But we need a structure like that to be able to do it. To build something like that back, to say rent it out to our neighbors to come and train here, it's not really kind of a thing that you do. Because we go out to their facilities too, and most departments already have a training tower of some kind. So if we started billing, they'd just go, well, we'll just use ours, right? Their own. So I don't see it being. I certainly wouldn't want to get it with the understanding that we were going to make money from it. If we made money from it, if we were able to bring on a whole bunch of new courses, and we were able to get some benefit that way, great. But I wouldn't want that to be the reason that we purchased it, or that we were able to get that.
Right, that wasn't really my intent. I guess my intent to the question is, when we do put on courses, are we other than the training that our own people are getting, but we invite other people to take those courses, and that money comes back in to pay for our services, and that
Correct.
is an asset.
Yes.
The insurance, etc.
Correct. Yes. From that standpoint, yes.
Right. Okay.
Very little.
Councillor Abb, did you want a resolution motion to this effect?
I do actually have one here,
Okay, go ahead.
unless anyone would like to.
Sorry, one more question through you, Councillor. Okay, so the cost of bringing and installing the tower is about $12,000 to $15,000. Not a big amount.
That's what I've been told. I haven't received the quote yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But relatively modest based on the asset that we're getting. But the question is where will that money come from? Is that a department budget that's allocated already, or
No, what I would like, what my recommendation or my thought is, our engine was deployed, or our tender was deployed to a fire already this year, and we are expecting 12 to 15, possibly up to 20, for that deployment.
Okay.
So my request would be that we could earmark that money when it comes in for this project. Because we do not have that money in our fire department budget.
Councillor Gray?
So, thank you, Councillor. If I could direct a question to Ms. Czerneski through you. How's that sound in terms of feasibility, moving the money around and that sort of thing? Is that?
Yeah, that's definitely feasible.
Oh, thank you.
All right then, I will make a recommendation to council or council support of the training tower project and direct the fire chief to proceed. Your seconder, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. All in favor? Okay, that is carried.
Councillor Abb, can we go back to the CREST? I just had one question about the CREST.
Sure.
Yeah, so as Councillor Donaldson was asking the question, it's a great report from CREST in terms of their performance optimization of the network. Do you know how much we pay for CREST services in Metchosin?
Not offhand, but possibly Ms. Tarnowski would have that figure. Did have it at one time, but it's in the budget. Do you remember?
Maybe the finance.
Councillor Donaldson?
It's in the budget this year for $75,000
$75.
for the 2023 budget.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, we don't have anything else, so I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Schicken, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. All in favor?